The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. You do not need prophecies to see the future of a partnership. Character leaks before contracts do. The face smiles, the pitch impresses, the promise glitters, and yet the truth shows up in small, repeatable motions that never rehearse. If you miss these signs early, the tuition is paid in years, not days. Charming first impressions are the perfume of costly lessons. The invoice arrives later, full of missed deadlines, vanishing credit, and favors that multiplied when you were tired. The cost of late intelligence is always higher than the price of distance. Think about the colleague who dazzled on day 1 and drifted by week 3. You covered, just this time. Then again and again until temporary became your job title. Consider the vendor who wooed you with urgency and delivered fog, the friend who adored your generosity and treated your boundary as an insult. Repairs devour resources, your hours, your reputation, the calm you need to plan. Avoidance is cheaper. Selection is strategy. Choose distance over drama, filters over fixes. So you stop listening to stories and begin reading patterns. A person's calendar is a confession. Do they arrive on time without applause? Do they protect the work block after asking for resources? Do they confirm decisions in writing? Or do they prefer the evaporations of talk? Watch credit flows. Does we include your name when outcomes are good and exclude you when applause is loud? Observe boundary tests. The small favor, the weekend ping, the joke that cuts and then asks you to be light about it. Log each touch and note who benefits. Patterns over promises. This is the Machiavellian lens. People reveal themselves when they think it is safe not to perform. How they treat a receptionist is more honest than how they treat a director. How they behave when the calendar tightens exposes their loyalty to outcomes, not optics. Look for an economy of attention. Focused notes, short questions, next steps. Beware the great explainer who never commits, the public flatterer who starves you in the ledger, the alignment addict who dissolves deadlines whenever commitment appears. Now you sign a pact of self-protection. You refuse to rescue red flags into your inner circle. No bargaining with patterns. No scholarships for repeat offenders. You will help once with terms. The second breach triggers distance without debate. Your calendar becomes a gate, not a hallway. Your introductions require reciprocal risk. Your credit is assigned in public tools. So theft becomes expensive and traceable. You stop paying for harmony with your future. You stop financing charm with your focus. This is not paranoia. It is governance. You are not hunting for perfect people. You are filtering for predictable ones. A small team of stable allies beats a large court of brilliant liabilities. When in doubt, choose the boring professional over the glittering exception. Choose the quiet ledger over the loud promise. Choose the person who stays when applause ends. Power multiplies around those who prune early and clearly. It dies in gardens watered by hope. You will be accused of being cold. Let them accuse. The warmest thing you can do for your mission and for the people who depend on you is to keep saboteurs far from the engine. Save your mercy for those who keep their word under pressure. Spend your patience on the teachable, not the theatrical. Put distance between your work and anyone whose pattern loads your calendar with emergencies of their making. These 6 flags are not moral verdicts. They are financial forecasts. Treat them like weather. If the sky darkens, you close the windows. If the wind rises, you tie down the roof. You do not negotiate with a storm. You adjust your course and sail on. See the pattern, price the risk, walk early. Steal first, courtesy second. You keep dangerous people close because you believe a sweeter story than their record. You hope nature will melt under warmth, lies will retire under light, and second chances will turn wolves into shepherds. This is comforting and wrong. A ruler protects the realm with consequences, not candles. If you wish to stay whole, stop subsidizing performance. Start pricing behavior. Kindness as a cage begins with small tributes. You say yes to just this once, and renewal hides in your tone. You spot their charm and call it potential. They spot your softness and call it supply. At work, the colleague who always forgets the deadline sends a tearful note and asks you to cover it. You do. The next sprint, the pattern repeats. New apology, same extraction, now wrapped in praise, so sweet it feels rude to refuse. In the family, the cousin swears this time the loan is different. You transfer funds, the repayment date drifts, and a fresh story appears. Bank error, sick aunt, delayed job until the calendar restarts in their favor. Online, a community leader calls you the glue and then hands you the weekend maintenance no one else wants. Public warmth, private tribute. Do not turn cold, turn exact. Keep your warmth and add teeth. Post terms before temptation. Happy to help for 60 minutes. Afterward, we rescue or defer. Loans move only through this written agreement. Schedule, collateral, consequence. Calls end at 10, emergencies only after. Say it once, write it once, repeat it when tested. When they plead for just this once, recognize the real request, betray your future self so they can preserve their past. Decline softly and let the policy take the blame. Courtesy remains. Extraction ends. Confession theater arrives when exposure threatens. They weep, they confess, they narrate childhood. Burnout, intentions. The confession resets the clock in your heart. You feel noble listening. They feel licensed repeating. Tears are not a ledger. Become unblinking. Track logs, not apologies. In a startup, a sales lead claims a personal crisis after sandbagging numbers. You audit the CRM and find 20 phantom opportunities created the day before review. In a nonprofit, a director admits communication mistakes, yet the grant reports show outputs inflated by recycled photos and copied blurbs. In a household, a partner confesses, promises, apologizes, and the phone bill still glows with midnight calls next month. Words are weather, records are ground. Return to the record. Require receipts before redemption. We will discuss amends after you show 3 weeks of clean entries. We will reopen trust after you disclose vendor ties and accept an outside review. We will continue this partnership after you close the card and follow a cash-only plan for 90 days. The tone stays calm. The bar becomes visible. If remorse is real, they will climb. If it is theater, they will leave to find an audience where tears still buy time. Put it in writing before the reunion, not after the relapse. Then the second chance spiral, where grace becomes gravity. You forgive fast to keep the peace, and the peace eats your standards. The offender learns the exchange rate. Breach costs nothing but a speech. You wake months later holding a bag of your own exceptions. The spiral accelerates because you fear what happens if you say, enough. You are not afraid of them, you are afraid of the silence after they leave. That fear is a door they walk through, carrying your resources. Design one recovery, not an infinity pool. Define when and how a single structured return is allowed, and when exit is policy. A structured return has 4 parts: disclosure, restitution, constraint, review, disclosure. The full map of harm, no hidden pockets. Restitution, payment that touches pain, money back, time back, public correction. Constraint, rules that bind future risk, reduced access, supervision, smaller scope. Review, dates where you evaluate without therapy language. Only facts. Put it in writing before the tears dry. If any piece is refused, the bridge is closed. If all are honored, the bridge stands once and only once. Some will say this is harsh. They will call you unkind for refusing the third chance, rigid for insisting on receipts, not a team player for pricing favors. Translate it correctly. You are no longer sponsoring their comfort. You are relocating the bill to the rightful address. Real allies adapt when you install cost. Users call it cruelty because the subsidy ended. Keep your jaw relaxed and your spine straight. You are not punishing, you are governing. Your fear will try one last trick. It will whisper that if you enforce, you will be alone. Remember, low standards attract company fast and danger faster. High standards repel noise and attract those who prefer sleeping with the door locked. You are building a harbor, not a party. The right people will dock when they see your lights steady and your rules real. Practice 3 moves until they are muscle memory. First, the posted price. Before the ask, state the term. If you forget, pause and add it midstream. Late is better than never. Second, the log check. When emotions rise, pull the record and let the data speak in your tone. Third, the exit habit. Write exits in advance so you do not negotiate with panic. When the limit is reached, walk, even if the room begs, and let the consequence do the teaching. You cannot fix nature with niceness, reform liars with transparency, or buy loyalty with instant pardon. You can protect your realm with boundaries, records, and a single well-structured bridge back from failure. Everything else is consolation for the kind and capital for the calculating. Do not harden your heart, harden your policy. Keep your voice warm and your terms steel. The dangerous orbit where tribute is cheap. Make your tribute expensive or make it impossible. Kind hand, closed gate, one bridge. You keep touching the hot glass because the glow looks like love. In the hallway behind your eyes, the shadow watches, holding the levers you refuse to name. It is not cruel, it is exact. It records how praise weakens your spine, how silence steals your breath, how rescuing becomes your ticket to belonging. If you leave these wounds unpriced and ungoverned, they will recruit your enemies and glue you to red flags you should have walked past. Approval hunger is a handle. The room cools, no nod, no reply, a thin smile sliding past your idea, and your tongue rushes to buy safety with extra words. Then comes the sugar. You're essential. We count on you, a public shout-out that floods your chest. The same hand that withholds attention now steers you with it. In a meeting, a senior says your name like a medal and you volunteer on the weekend. Online, a verified account notices you and your plan collapses into their thread. That is not value, it is steering by signal. Install a pause protocol so the handle slips off. When you feel the surge to fill the gap, do nothing for 2 slow breaths. Plant your feet, unclench your jaw, press your tongue to the roof of your mouth to keep sentences from escaping. Replace like me with meet standard. Speak only after the pause turns craving into choice. Ask for criteria, not closeness. What result matters here? What are the 3 acceptance points and the deadline? If praise arrives after disrespect, do not run toward the warmth. Check the standard first, we repair yesterday's comment and confirm scope, then we continue. Make the button list and pair each with a counter reflex. Button, public flattery, counter convert to written scope, deadline, and trade-offs. Button, delayed replies. Counter no free work, set an expiry, 2 options until Wednesday noon, afterward new timelines and rates apply. Button, withheld attention from status figures. Counter propose a 3rd option plan that serves your goals. If they decline, you keep moving. Train your body to feel chemistry without obeying it. The pause is the bridge across the fire. Walk it again and again until your silence carries power instead of panic. Avoidance is a tax, and the interest compounds. You dodge firm lines because you confuse kindness with softness, but boundaries are the bones that let kindness stand. Open the ledger and name the losses. You accept tiny tweaks with no definition. Cost 10 hours, 2 late nights, 1 broken promise to someone you love. You let authorship slide because it's not worth the trouble. Cost, a missing credit line and a promotion cycle where you look helpful but replaceable. You keep a weekly meeting with no owner and no outcome. Cost, 3 hours a week to nowhere. Multiply by 12 months, then by 5 years. That is the weight you are calling nice. Turn anxiety into arithmetic. Write 1-screen sentences with nouns and numbers. To deliver X by date Y, we either drop A or add B. The definition of done equals Z. Who owns the decision by Friday? If undecided, we pause. This work includes authorship. List contributors on the release note. When pushback arrives as fog, condense it again. Clean friction upstream is cheaper than chronic resentment downstream. Your voice might tremble. Speak anyway. Courage leaves receipts. Sleep returns, time reappears, and your calendar stops testifying against you. Track the compound interest of clarity. After 3 weeks, fewer loops. After 3 months, visible wins with your name attached. After a year, your rate and title change because the narrative changed. You are no longer a sponge. You are a spine. The shadow quiets. When you show it that truth does not kill belonging, it protects it. People who value reality lean closer. People who valued only your silence step back. Either way, the room becomes honest. Now the rescuer's trap. Saving becomes your brand, and brands attract customers, including predators. They study your halo for handles. Missed deadlines melt if they praise your heart. Repeated crises keep you in orbit because you crave being needed more than being respected. You donate weekends, slash invoices, and apologize for asking for terms. You call it loyalty. They call it logistics. They plan around your impulse to over-repair. Retire the savior costume and keep the standard. Replace rescue with enforceable exchanges. First, write your floors, money, time, dignity, and put them where your eyes land before your fear does. Money, the lowest rate at which you can deliver without resentment. Time, earliest and latest working hours, weekends off limits. Dignity, tone, and responsiveness that treat you as a peer. Everything one beneath your floor becomes a ceiling you will hate. Second, build referral and relief lanes that do not drain you. When someone's need exceeds scope, route them to a paid partner or a resource list. Offer limited aid windows, 2 calibrated favors per quarter, pre-chosen, with clear starts and ends. The point is not to harden your heart. It is to keep it beating for the work you are actually called to do. Your generosity matures when it stops funding other people's avoidances. Third, require written terms before any help. Happy to support once we confirm scope, price, start date, and owner of the previous miss. If they vanish, let the vanishing reveal the truth. Distance is data. Predators hate forms. Partners sign them. When a client says tiny tweaks, reply, list them with acceptance criteria. We'll schedule after scope lock. When an influencer offers access crumbs, answer with a third option aligned to your mission. If they decline, you continue your plan untouched. Practice the counter-reflex until it lives in your bones. When a raised eyebrow invites a speech, breathe and ask one clarifying question. When a friend cancels at the last minute, don't rebuild the calendar to keep them comfortable. Offer 2 options or let the plan die without drama. When a manager praises you after erasing your credit, hold position. We'll proceed after the release note is corrected. Small acts of standards become a new nervous system. Steady, slow, unpurchasable. All 3 levers, approval, hunger, avoidance, rescue, sprout from the same root, the fear that love is earned by self-abandonment. Jung would say what you refuse to live rules you as fate. The shadow does not want you cold. It wants you whole. Invite back the exiled guardians. Anger that closes the gate, pride that refuses crumbs, the voice that waits through discomfort for the real answer. You will still be kind, but your kindness will have a spine. You will still be helpful, but never at the cost of your standards. You will still be warm, but only within a structure that keeps you human. See yourself at a table with 3 brass buttons. For years, anyone passing could press them and watch you dance. Today, you label each, price each, and wire each to a new circuit. Button pressed, you pause. You ask for writing. You choose from your plan. The old current no longer runs you. Some will complain. Let them drift. They were renting your nervous system at a discount. Walk out under honest weather, praise that warms, silence that cools, storms that test the frame. Your frame holds. You are not steerable by signal, not taxable by fog, not purchasable by crumbs. You move from the center and the room learns your climate. Clear, calm, firm. Hold your center. Let standards speak. The warning flags were not small. You chose not to read them because hope wore bright costumes. Now the costumes are gone. The room is white and still. You hear the vent hum, the scratch of a pen, the click of a laptop as if time were trapped under glass. The old identity, be kind, be safe, sits like a paper crown on wet stone. It slides off in silence. Your shadow, exiled for the sake of being lovable, takes a seat beside you and watches without blinking. You begin the update with clean lines, dates, and proof. Then the quiet knife, a colleague smiles and says, "As a team we've been shaping this," and the blade hides inside the word team. The slide advances. Your name fades like chalk in rain. No raised voices, no debate, only clinical reframing in a friendly tone. A second cut arrives dressed as humor. Our poet will polish the narrative later. Light laughter, a warm anesthetic on a precise incision. The laugh relocates you from architect to decoration, from author to accessory, and the room proceeds as if nothing happened. Study choreography, not faces. Who holds the clicker, and therefore the light? Who sits to the left of the decision maker, and therefore the whisper channel? Who stares at a phone to perform neutrality, while silence functions as consent? This is not a courtroom. It is a ritual where masks change hands and authority is framed, not announced. Your jaw wants to speak, your chest wants to surge, but you decline the invitation to turn your wound into spectacle. You let the pain land clean. Outside, the hallway tastes like metal. Humiliation arrives cold and exact. In Jung's language, a complex lights up, the ancient knot tying safety to approval. It wants you to plead for fairness and call it truth. Do not explain it away, hold it. Shame tries to weld identity to this moment. You break the weld and convert the burn into coordinates. You are not judging people now, you are mapping power. Agenda first. Who titled the meeting, set the verbs, and downgraded your work from decision to update? Who placed quick context before your slot, so attention had thinned? Write the names without venom. Data must remain clean. Optics next. Who controlled the laptop, sat in the brightest seat, or summarized last so memory wore their phrasing? Draw the table and mark the chairs. Timing. Who positioned you after a fire drill, or just before lunch, where speed erases nuance? Access. Who briefed the decision maker before you, and who can enter calendars without asking? Each answer is a switch, not a scar. You are finding the panel that dimmed your voice. Translate the map into mechanics you will own. 24 hours before any decision, ship a one-page frame, problem, stakes, milestones, risks, definition of done, timestamp it, send it to 2 decision makers and 1 witness who respects receipts. Place artifacts in the room before performance can repaint authorship. A milestone card with your name and date. A micro demo that runs by itself. A checklist that defines done in nouns and numbers. Ask to open second and summarize last. If denied, publish a crisp recap within 15 minutes to the people who move budgets, copying 1 witness, guard launch windows and pre-announced checkpoints so delays carry a cost. Credits live on artifacts, not in hope. Test the mechanics in living scenes. In a startup, a strategic voice presents your spec. Your counter is not a protest thread. It is a dated changelog and a 10-second screen capture posted that morning, making theft argue with gravity. In a clinic, your protocol is folded into a combined approach. You forward the original to the chief and a sponsor with a 3-line delta table. Integration happens on record. In a family business, a cousin's charm turns you into the mascot. You move from charm to terms, scope and writing, deadlines with penalties, favors logged like inventory. Pain becomes policy. Rage arrives like a red tide. It promises speed and spectacle, a reply all that scorches earth, a speech that wins applause from spectators who love fire more than rebuilding. The shadow steps between you and the crowd. Breathe, in through the nose for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. Again, with each cycle, the fire finds a hearth instead of burning the house. The warrior archetype stands up, bows to the self, and points you to the notebook. From fire to ledger, write the event as if a stranger would audit it. Exact time, exact words, exact witnesses. 10:12, as a team reframed authorship. Slide advanced. 10:17, joke, classified me as decoration. Laughter, summary followed. 10:23, final recap, omitted owners and dates. Attach emails, invites, screenshots. Reduce heat to lines daylight can defend. This is not a diary, it is a ledger. Ledgers turn moods into measurements and measurements into design. Translate the ledger into standards that outlive weather. 4 rails, no work without scope. No scope without milestones. No milestones without a public artifact. No artifact without names. Replace I feel with by Tuesday 2 p.m., measured by X. Replace I hope with option A costs this. Option B costs that. Decide by noon. You are not threatening. You are forecasting reality with receipts attached. Your sentences shorten. Your tone lowers. You become easy to collaborate with and expensive to mishandle. Numbness follows, the winter after the burn. It is not emptiness. It is anesthesia for precise surgery. In that quiet, you hear the myth dying. Be nice and the wolf will skip your door. Individuation begins where that myth ends. You do not abandon kindness. You harness it. The shadow becomes a sentinel rather than a saboteur. It asks what goodness forgets. What happens if they change their mind? You answer with clauses, cadence, and consequence. Practice the new spine in small arenas. A manager tries to reopen a settled choice to stay flexible. You reply, 2 options, 2 costs. Choose by Friday 2 p.m., or we hold current. A peer tests another joke. You let silence mirror it back until the room hears itself, then continue the agenda in a lower voice. A stakeholder praises team effort while siphoning credit. You point to the public log with names, dates, artifacts. No edge, no tremble, just stone. At night you pass the glass where the knife slid under your ribs. Your reflection is different. Half light, half shadow, one figure, not a mask, a face. You will still be generous, but document it. You will still forgive, but you will not erase the coordinates that keep the work intact. The cut showed where to add armor. The sting showed where to add law. The numbness taught you to move from weather to climate. Morning arrives with a ritual, a small card above your desk. Agenda, optics, timing, gatekeeping, 4 switches. Before each meeting, flip at least 2. After each meeting, ship 1 artifact that can stand without you. Each week, add 1 lever, a channel you control, a sponsor who understands receipts, a clause that raises the cost of betrayal. These are not moods, they are standards. Standards turn the crash into contour and contour into course. Freeze the frame, harvest the intelligence. Choose rooms where your terms can breathe and carry your ledger like a lantern through corridors that can't. You are kind, and you are done auditioning. The crown is not paper anymore. It is bone grown back with iron. Calm breath, clear terms, cold records. Men are driven by 2 principal impulses, either by love or by fear. You were told that warmth breeds loyalty. Smile harder, give more, and people will tie themselves to your mast. Retire that fantasy. In real campaigns, loyalty follows incentives, clarity, and scarcity. Your respect protocol becomes policy, or it becomes dust. Love is the heat from the engine. Leverage is the crankshaft that turns. From deserving to designing, you stop treating relationships like weather and start treating them like contracts with measurable terms. Define deliverables, response windows, and access tiers before anyone asks for a favor. What do you exchange by when, through which channel, and for what return? Write it. At work, replace "I tried" with a weekly ledger. Revenue protected, revenue created, risk removed. Each line stamped with dates and owners. With clients, transform "let's chat" into scope, milestones, acceptance criteria, and change control. With friends, replace vague promises with windows that protect both sides. I can help Saturday, 2 to 5 if you bring the supplies. The more you specify, the less you beg. Clarity becomes armor. Center incentives over sympathy. If a manager forgets your impact, send that ledger 2 days before planning with 1 precise task that is cheaper than losing you. If a teammate stalls, break the project into checkpoints that unlock budget only when deliverables clear inspection. If a relative treats your time as a bottomless well, cap favors per month and pair extra help with a task that returns hours to your calendar. You remove the theater of feelings and install the math of exchanges. The room stops negotiating with your mood and starts negotiating with your terms. Scarcity by policy, concentrate value until your presence changes results before the room convenes. Specialize so imitation becomes expensive. Speak less so your words arrive like invoices. Deliver at decisive moments, so timing does half the lifting. You raise negotiating weight in the silence before alliances form. Example 1 inside the company. Replace constant availability with a single office hour and a weekly artifact that moves a metric. Deep questions, live there and nowhere else. Colleagues prepare before they arrive. Your scarcity lifts the signal to noise. Example 2, clients. Retire the quick call, offer a premium diagnostic, 1 week fixed fee, fixed deliverables, limited slots per quarter. The wait list becomes a silent drum that accelerates decisions and lifts your rate without argument. Example 3, social and dating. Decline the last-minute scramble. Host a curated dinner once a month where you connect people and set the tone. You arrive prepared. You leave on time. You say less and show more. Access to you equals access to signal. Discipline keeps scarcity honest. Prune platforms until only channels that compound remain. Publish response windows and keep them. Guard deep work as a treasury, Interruptions pay in results, or they do not clear the gate. Step out of gossip loops because gossip compounds nothing. Use measured silence as policy, not sulking. The pause compels others to package requests with evidence and trade-offs. When you speak, a short sentence moves more than a river of explanations. Weight replaces noise. Your presence becomes an event that changes the math. Mercy with memory. Keep generosity, but tie it to records and a single proportionate consequence. Mercy is policy, not mood. Protect beginners from humiliation. Fear wastes talent you can convert. Credit contributors in public. Prestige multiplies effort without extra spend. Forgive a first miss quickly when the remedy is dated and visible. Log it. Your ledger is not bitterness. It is institutional memory that blocks the charming reset. Then choose one proportionate penalty for breaches and apply it without theater. If a vendor misses twice, rotate the contract for a quarter. If a colleague lies, escalate with timestamps, witnesses, and calm signatures. If someone disrespects you in public, choose a proportional public correction, a factual reply, a seat moved or a door that will not open again. Rare, fair, unforgettable. Make the system legible so others self-correct. Rewards arrive where the charter says, penalties where the ledger says, everything else receives silence. The silence starves gossip. The ledger feeds trust. After 2 cycles, meetings shorten, emails tighten, and sorry turns into fixed. People treat your calendar like currency and your standards like law. Loyalty appears as compliance with your terms, not as compliments in the hallway. The strongest allies are those who benefit predictably from your order, not those who flatter your ego. Understand what love becomes under law. It is the glow around a well-governed city. People admire what is useful, respect what is scarce, and hesitate before what enforces. With you, they attempt harder things because mercy has terms. They mind your time because scarcity has gates. They measure their words because memory has teeth. You do not chase affection. You generate it by being useful, scarce, and formidable, by running the machine that warms the room. Retire the fantasy and enact the law. Loyalty follows incentives, clarity, and scarcity. Recast every tie as an exchange with measurable terms. Constrain supply on purpose. Keep generosity predictable. And the single consequence credible. Let clean silence invoice the careless, and let decisive delivery crown the prepared. The room will align because your price is cheaper than chaos. Design the terms, let loyalty grow in the shade. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. You will not be fooled by the shine. You will watch the hands. These are the 6 flags that wave before a mess becomes a war, and the counter moves that protect your leverage without theatrics. First flag, the charm sprinter. Fast intimacy, fast promises, fast asks. They race past proof and into your calendar. The counter is procedural, not personal. Slow the clock and starve the momentum. Require written terms, small tests, and dated checkpoints. Say, good idea, put the scope, deliverable, and date in one email. We'll pilot a 2-hour test by Friday. Then you set a tiny dial. Success is 3 customers through the beta by noon. If they balk at writing, the sprint is a scam. If they accept but miss the micro test, you lose minutes, not months. Your line tomorrow morning, write the scope, run a small test, decide at the checkpoint. Second flag, the credit parasite. We did when you did. They inflate by fogging ownership. The counter is administrative steel, public boards, explicit lines, routine demos. Put the work on a shared board with columns. Owner, definition of done, and demo date. Set demos on a rhythm where the builder shows the work and the team hears the metrics. When the parasite says we, you point to the board and the calendar. Owner is a demo is Wednesday, metric is conversion, above 10%, no speeches. Theft becomes expensive when every task has a visible signature and a stage. Your line, ownership is on the board, credit follows the demo. Third flag, the deadline evaporator. Endless alignment, zero delivery. They melt time with meetings and language about consensus, always later. You answer with clocks, midpoints, and auto-escalation. Give a decision a timer and a midpoint. Decision by Tuesday, 15 o'clock, Midpoint check Monday, 11 o'clock to verify blockers. Post the rule in advance. If the midpoint slips, the choice escalates one level, and if the final time passes, the default path executes. Example, if a copy isn't approved by noon, we ship the paired version with last week's headline. You are not cruel, you are finished. Clouds cannot swallow a clock with teeth. Your line, decision at 1500 midpoint 11 default ships, if silent. Fourth flag, the victim king or queen. Every breach becomes a story, and every fact must bow before a saga. They harvest pity to bankrupt standards. You respond with one sentence, one remedy, then silence. State the act and impact without adjectives. Risk notes missed Friday, 2 hours of scramble. Monday, offer a single remedy tied to the rule. Speaking slot removed one cycle, restored after 2 clean Fridays. Then you leave the stage. If more stories arrive, you repeat the brick, act, impact, remedy, done. You are not cold. You are exact. Drama cannot feed on concrete. Your line, act X, impact Y, remedy applied, loop closed. Fifth flag, the boundary tester. Just this once, quick call, small favor. The requests sound tiny, the bill is heavy. You price proximity with tiers, queues, and no off-calendar work. 3 tiers: general, partner, critical. 3 promises: 1 channel, 1 form, 48-hour SLA. Off-calendar asks to move to the queue. Urgent requests require the critical box and a named impact. Meetings require agendas 24 hours in advance. Hallway approvals don't exist. If someone tries the side door, you smile and point to the posted gate. Submit via the form. Next slot is Thursday. Polite, boring, firm. The line, requests enter the queue. Exceptions require the posted criteria. Sixth flag, the reputation lender. They borrow your name to open doors, then spend it like free money. You protect the brand you live on with precision. Introduce only to sign scope, revoke on breach, audit mentions. Your email template, I'm happy to connect once scope, deliverable, and date are in writing. Introductions expire if milestones slip. Keep a running list of where your name sits and check it monthly. If someone misuses it, you send the receipt. We agreed on X by Y. Breach logged, access revoked until remedy A is complete. You make reputational credit behave like budget, tracked, limited, and retractable. Your line. Interest follows signed scope, access pauses on breach. Each countermove requires a stage where time and proof are the actors. So you build one. Open every room with the dial and the date. Issue X. Dial Y by Z. Decision today. Checkpoint C. Pin the dial where everyone can see it. A charm sprinter tries to detour into feeling. You return to the 12-word frame. A credit parasite tries to fog the air. You point to the board and announce the demo. A deadline evaporator offers another alignment session. You point to the clock and the default, a victim king, launches a monologue. You lay down the sentence that fits on one line. A boundary tester slides a quick call. You lift the queue. A reputation lender waves your name. You bring the scope and the audit trail. Make each move automatic, so your face stays calm. For charm, the micro-test is policy. For credit, the board and the demo are rhythm. For deadlines, the midpoint and default are posted. For victimhood, the one-sentence rule and one remedy live in a template. For boundaries, the form and SLA are public. For reputation, the signed scope and monthly audit are standard. When a flag appears, you do not argue. You operate, the machine answers, and the machine wears your ring. The goal is not to punish, it is to price. When momentum scams cannot spend your time freely, they slow or vanish. When theft pays nothing, thieves discover boredom. When clouds hit clocks, they clear. When stories meet receipts, they shrink. When justice once cost line position, the line returns to order. When your name behaves like currency, fewer hands touch it. Practice the lines until they fit in your mouth without heat. Write the scope. We test small by Friday. Ownership is on the board. Credit follows the demo. Decision at 1500 default ships, if silent. Act impact, remedy, loop closed. Requests enter the queue. Exceptions require the criteria. Intros follow signed scope. Access pauses on breach. They sound plain because they are strong. you will find that rooms become quieter, not from fear, but from clarity. People prefer rules when the rules are clear, posted, and actually enforced. Picture next week. Monday 9 o'clock you open with the dial and the date. At 9:15 a charming stranger asks for a big leap. You require the 2-hour test. At 10:30 someone says we over your work. You point to the owner column and invite the Wednesday demo. By noon a decision tries to evaporate. The midpoint triggers escalation and the default path moves. In the afternoon a long story arrives. You lay out the one sentence and apply the single remedy. A quick call request hits your chat. You paste the form before you sleep. You audit where your name travels and revoke one stale pass. Nothing burned, everything moved. You will still feel the pull to be nice, to be fast, to be loved. Keep the feeling, deny it the steering wheel. You lead with dials, dates, boards, forms, and audits because you respect your future more than today's applause. The prince is not a tyrant. He is a custodian of scarce time. Protect it, and your kingdom grows without shouting. See the flag, run the rule, let the record speak. You do not tame chaos. You refuse its invitation before it arrives. Order shrinks storms when you practice early avoidance. You stop arguing with red flags and start pruning access. Each week you run a serene, practical rhythm. Review the flags, prune the channels, reward clean execution. You scan your calendar for relationships that cost more than they return. You check projects against standards, scope, deadline, owner, and cut the ones that drift. You close loops that leak attention, unfinished approvals, vague promises, stale chats that pretend to be work. Breaches are handled without theater. Note the miss, name the cost, set the correction, confirm the fix. You praise in daylight the people who deliver on time and on spec because public credit teaches faster than any lecture. Maintenance becomes mercy. You conserve your nerves and spare others from the confusion of mixed signals. Avoidance is not fear. It is selection. You choose your battles by choosing your gates. In sales, you qualify early budget, timeline, authority. If the answers blur, you decline politely and move on. In hiring, you use scorecards, not hunches. The pipeline is tight. The interview's on time. The offer expires when it should. In operations, you define thresholds for escalation, so small fires cannot wander from room to room. Online, you publish a policy and pin it. You block bait once and keep receipts. In personal life, you protect hours that are non-negotiable and set cool-down rules that keep midnight emotions from making morning messes. Early avoidance turns potential crises into routine dusting. Your day stays clear because you remove what does not meet the mark, not because you can wrestle every problem into kindness. Reputation becomes climate. Your predictability sets the weather. Partners stop pushing your deadline when it does not move. Colleagues quit fishing for exceptions when every exception carries a cost. Vendors present their best price first because they know your answer is steady. Offenders adapt or drift away, not through public war but through simple friction. They cannot tolerate clear standards, clean clocks, documented terms. People breathe easier around you because surprise is rare and consequences are known. The room warms to your steadiness. Respect grows where drama used to eat. The emotional reward is subtle but deep. Steady days, light mind. Your calm is principled distance, not apathy. You read patterns early. The chronic latecomer, the charmer who never signs, the teammate who loves the meeting and fears the deliverable. You act before the story demands an audience. You shorten the leash on risk and lengthen the runway for reliability. Your silence is a border. Your schedule is a verdict. Decisions move faster because the frame is fixed. Standards up front, exits prepared, praise precise. You sleep because nothing waits in the dark that was not named in daylight. Now seal it with the vow of early exit. Short, steel bright, and binding. You will see patterns early, not after the third apology. You will say no fast with courtesy and finality, so your energy serves outcomes, not arguments. You will move on without noise, no public trials, no epilogues, no late-night essays meant to convert the unconvincible. You will keep the weekly rhythm, review flags, prune access, reward clean execution. You will price your time, protect your dignity, and make room for the allies who strengthen the walls. You will choose selection over rescue, standards over charm, records over memory. The result is not a louder life. It is a quieter one that still wins. Modern arenas make this plain. In your inbox, you route by rule and archive by outcome. In budgeting, you fund the engine, not the spectacle. In meetings, you end when the work is set, and you refuse the drip of endless quick syncs. In relationships, you set terms when calm and enforce them when tested. You neither punish to vent nor reward to buy peace. You document, adjust once, and move. People come to trust your climate because it is readable. Love, when it appears, arrives as respect for your order, not as turbulence you tolerate. Fewer crises, clearer days, better sleep. You are not colder, you are earlier. The city of your life holds because the gates close on time and the sentries understand the signal. You do less firefighting because you do more gardening. You do not defend your peace, you maintain it, and it maintains you. See early, say no fast, move on in quiet.